I'd like to welcome today to Bullybox TV, Karl. Karl, hello, thank you for coming along.
It's my pleasure.
Karl, could you just introduce yourself to our audience?
Yes, well, my name is Karl Griffiths. I'm a singer, songwriter, musician and sound engineer.
Okay. So, Karl, I'd like to take you back in time. And I'd like to take you back in time to when you were at school. And if you'd just like to talk to us about your first experience of bullying.
Well, my first experience of it would have been in year 3, and there's just 2 people sort of had it in for me, and there's quite often cases where it's just the same each day when they find me in the playground, they beat me on the floor, jump on me, and then before I could get up and go and speak to the teacher about it, they'd already given them about a load of lies, and I'd always been, I just was always in trouble for bullying when I hadn't done anything.
So they beat you physically?
Yep.
And then they would run away and try and blame you for doing the bullying kind of thing?
Yeah, I still don't know how they got away with it. I mean, the teachers should have suspected something considering that I was limping over to them.
Yes. Was there any reason why you were picked on, do you think, and not other people?
I think I was the smallest kid in the year, so obviously I was more vulnerable than other people.
Okay, so you started getting bullied when you were 8 years old.
Well, 8 or 7, yeah.
7 or 8 years old, and it was 2 lads. Were they the same age as you?
Yeah, they were the same age, a lot bigger.
A lot bigger, yeah. And did they carry on then bullying you through school, or?
One of them, well, because I went to a school that only held from reception to year 3, we all had to go to another school after year 3. One of them didn't carry on to that other school, they moved somewhere else.
Right.
But one lad carried on. He wasn't so much of a problem in the second school, but there was still plenty of year 5s and year 6s around. And I was still the smallest in my year back then as well.
So you were picked on again in your new school?
Yeah.
Right, so before we go there, in your first school, up to year 3, you were picked on by these 2 lads. They beat you physically, then they tried to blame you for it so that they weren't getting into trouble. At that school, did you do anything about it?
I didn't know what could be done about it at the time. It was all new to me, and so I'd never actually experienced it before then. So
you just suffered it?
I just suffered it.
So were you already starting to think at sort of age 7 and 8 that getting beaten up, if you like, was part of growing up?
I just saw it, I mean, at the time I saw it happening to me and not to anyone else, and I felt like it was just something that, it was, yeah, I wasn't too sure what to make of it. It suddenly, I just suddenly felt like that the whole world was against me.
Right. And did you have any coping mechanisms? So you didn't talk about it, but how did you, go to sleep at night?
With a lot of tears. And I mean, as for coping with it, I didn't really cope with it too well.
Okay.
Because then as soon as as soon as my growth spurts hit back towards the end of year 4, there was just so much anger built up inside of me that I then started picking on the vulnerable kids as well.
Oh, right.
And that was just purely out of, it was just absolute anger.
So you moved to your new school,
Mm-hmm.
you'd suffered bullying at your old school, you've got a lot of pent-up anger, you haven't been able to deal with it.
No.
Just talk us through the process then of kind of what you went through and what happened.
For me, that was a way of venting a lot of anger because I was still being picked on and beaten. It was always physical,
Right.
and So sometimes I was lucky if I came off with the odd name calling, but where I went it was always physical bullying, and it was always you'd be beaten to the floor and then jumped on and stamped on when you were on the floor. So it was very violent. It's something that no kid of that age should ever have to witness or let alone go through. And because of all that, it built up so much hatred and anger inside of me that I just anyone who was more vulnerable than me was in for it, and it wasn't it wasn't even their fault.
Yeah, you were just lashing out.
I was just lashing out. It's just I just wanted vengeance, and anyone would do.
Was there a turning point at all?
Something just clicked with me when, as I was picking on someone, they were just sat on the floor in the corner, and they just shouted, "Why are you picking on me? I haven't done anything." And it just suddenly clicked. I just thought, hang on, I said that in year 3. And it was just that weird moment. It was a weird moment for him when he just closed his eyes. So I put my hand out. He thought I was going to hit him. And he just closed his eyes for a minute and then opened them. I was actually offering to help him up. He said, "Look, I'm sorry, mate. Been through, been there, done that. I think that's why I'm doing this now. Just get up, brush yourself off. You can go and tell the teacher if you want. I don't care anymore. Just don't let it start with you. What happened with me." Saying that, there was still a lot of anger bottled up inside of me, but I just started looking for other ways to let it out.
Okay.
I was when I got to my new secondary school, I was ready to defend myself. I was doing a lot of martial arts at the time as well. I took that up over the summer holidays.
Okay.
And that was, I took it up whilst I was being bullied as well, so I could learn to defend myself. So I just thought, when I get there, I'm not going to start any trouble, but if anyone wants to start trouble with me, they're going to get it back.
Right.
I got there, it turned out to be a tiny place with 80 students in the whole school. And it was a completely different atmosphere. I had a lot of anger bottled up and no way of venting it, so I was trying to keep it inside of me. And someone that actually came from my old school and knew what I was like, that I'd never actually done anything to them, but they knew something was happening. And they quickly learnt that the older years, actually, if there's something going on with a kid in the younger year, they'll do whatever they can to help them out.
Okay.
And they realised that after chatting with this girl from my old school, that I had a lot of anger built up. And so their response was to get it out. And I remember they took me over to, they came and gathered round me in the corner where no one else could see anything going on. And I honestly thought that they were ganging up on me to beat me up again. So I just thought, yep, I knew this place wouldn't be much different than the other schools I've been to. And what they did is I can't remember exactly what it was they said, but they were touching on things to help draw my anger out to the surface. And as soon as they got my anger out, just as I was going to lash out, 2 of them tackled me to the ground, put me in the lock there, and then they just saw tears sort of rolling from my eyes, and their attitudes completely changed. They said, "Good, let it out. Best way to get rid of anger is just to cry it out." What shocked me the most is that it was actually the students who were supporting. That's the way the school worked, is that students would support each other.
Okay, like peer supporters. Were they trained to do this?
It was. I don't know how it originally started. There must have been some training at some stage, but they didn't really do much training when I was there because it seemed like everyone was learning off the older years. Okay. So there's only 10 people in each class, and it was 1 class per year group.
What is it like just talking about those experiences? Have you had much outlet to talk about them?
They've stayed. I've kept them secret up until today, really. Not because I didn't want anyone to know about it. It's just because I felt I had no reason to mention that. It's
So how does it make you feel now talking about it?
It's good getting it out. I'm not too worried about talking about things like that. Because it's all just part of life at the end of the day.
For sure. But it shows, to me anyway, it shows a large degree of bravery to be able. There's two things. One is a lot of people that have been bullied have difficulty talking about the bullying that they've got for whatever reason, but even more so for people to talk about any bullying that they've done themselves. It's very rare that you'll get somebody that will be happy to talk honestly about it. And you, it seems, you're very happy obviously to talk about both sides of the coin. And I think it's very interesting that you've gone through both yourself, and I'm wondering how many people out there have had a similar kind of experience, that maybe they started bullying purely because they were bullied before, and it's sort of almost like you said, you were lashing out and like an uncontrolled anger, a kind of a vengeance, thinking all that stuff's happening to me, I don't only want it to happen to me, it's got to happen to other people as well, kind of thing.
It's I think there's more people out there that have gone through it than they let off. I know a lot of people are worried about if they talk about them being being the bully after being bullied, it makes them look like less of a person. I don't think it's that as rare as a lot of people make it out to be. I mean, the thing with bullying is that there's a lot of unspoken guidelines towards it. One tip I can give is, with bullies, when they say, if you tell anyone, we'll make it 10 times worse for you, ignore them, it's utter lies. They're just as scared. They're saying that because they're terrified of getting into trouble. If they get into trouble for it, they're not going to touch you again.
How did music, and particularly learning guitar, help you to make you feel better about yourself?
Well, before it made me feel better about myself, it threw me into a lot of confusion. Because up until when I started learning guitar, I had my future planned out. I was going to go and do I decided I was going to do public services at the college and join the Navy. But when I started learning guitar, and actually it kind of took over my interests. It took over my interest a bit, but it also made me very confused about what it was I wanted to do for my future. A lot of that became. Even when at the conference when I was doing the songwriting,
What conference was this?
That was the IPARI National Anti-Bullying Conference.
Okay.
So what happened there is one of the teachers from my school, about 9 months after I started learning the guitar, I'd already mastered a good selection of chords and a few songs. And one of the teachers who actually helped me get into learning the guitar in the first place found a flyer for the songwriting competition.
This is the IPARI songwriting competition.
And he encouraged me to have a go at it because he saw me. I'd written a song which I hadn't showed anyone. I hadn't shown many people. I showed him this song, and that was probably about it. Him and a few other people. And but yeah, he encouraged me to write another one, which was picked on the song that won me the songwriting competition.
Yes, so the song written by Karl Griffiths, picked on, and you performed it live I remember because I was there, at the I National Anti-Bullying Conference for Young People, which was held in Weston-super-Mare. Yeah. How was that conference for you?
It was incredible. I'd never actually experienced a conference before then, and I've not seen a conference like it ever since.
So, music at this age is helping you an awful lot.
It's helped me, and it was also throwing me into more confusion because part of me still I had a bit of an obsession with ships back then. I wanted to go and work on boats, but then another part of me was starting to realise the love of music, and that was pretty confusing for me at the time. I think it actually became more certain when I met this was through a youth, started off all through a youth club I went to. This actually helped me with the turning point from what I used to be like to what I am now. It was a Christian-run youth club, and one of my friends, I moved to a new area, and I got a new friend. I will mention his name because he's been an absolute star, and he is known around Weston now. And it's anyone that knows Colby. Who's known as Colby Jackson for his Michael Jackson stuff. He really helped to make me who I am today.
Okay.
When I moved in, he was the first one who came and spoke to me. I was still a bit of a nasty piece of work at the time. I was still in my old primary school, being bullied and bullying other people, and he got a fair bit of the what I was dealing out as well, but he never gave up. He never stopped coming around to see me. He never stopped trying to be my friend.
Wow.
And,
important person in your life then.
He started taking me to this Christian youth club, and the first few times, the first half a year I was going, I just thought that with all the youth clubs I've been to in the past, I'd been kicked out of every single one of them, and I just thought, no, these guys will get fed up with me and kick me out too. They didn't, and I actually they had a bit of a time when they would sit down and talk to a few people about issues relating to that, and they actually said the thing with with healing from from bad experiences, and the thing that the way that forgiveness works is you have to be willing to forgive yourself as well as people that might have caused you pain, and that was what actually got to me. It's when they said that, and it just all clicks then that this is kind of like it just suddenly clicks that I've got the only way to really solve any of my problems is to be willing to let go of what's happened and be willing to make all the effort to do something new, and to try and better myself with any means possible. And it took a while, but I think we got there.
Karl, could you just talk to us briefly about this idea of forgiveness and how you were able to find ways to forgive yourself?
It's just I had to change the way I was thinking at the time, because I just thought the only thing that I could really do at that point was cause people pain or take pain myself. Well, I had to realise that was what my frame of mind was at the start, and luckily I had a lot of people helping me do that. In order to forgive myself, to acknowledge that's what I've done, I've pretty much apologised to as many people as I could find about whatever trouble I caused them. I kind of tried to model myself after key points of some people from my school actually that I thought were really good, and some other people that I met around as well. Because I mean, a lot of people think you can't change your personality, but actually you can if you want it badly enough. If you ask Colby back then to describe me, he'd have said Carl's aggressive, depressed and whatnot, but there's still good in him somewhere. If you ask him now, this is what he said. This is what he said to someone in front of me. He said, lively, funny, outgoing, and one thing I heard him say that I'll never forget this, was that he said Karl is the sort of person who will fight the battles that others can't. And yeah, that's something that's
means a lot to you, doesn't it?
And that's something I'll never forget. So yeah. The things that really changed me was not only from the music side of things, also I mean from when I was 14, I met a producer who took me into he kind of adopted me into his studio. I was there every day learning how the studio works, and then he introduced me to Live Sound Guys, which is where it's got me now running live sound in a lot of places. And so now I'm running a company called Waverley Audio. And so
if people wanted to book you as a musical production company, how could they get in touch with you?
Go through the website really, waverleyaudio.com or .co.uk. We've got both, so you can get in touch with me from there. Or Facebook is another good option as well.
Okay. On that note, Karl, thank you a million times for coming and talking with us today and sharing your experiences with our audience. This is Dr. Andy Hickson with Karl Griffiths for Bullybox TV. Thank you for joining us, and see you next time.